when you slid the thing.
Oh.
How
You
how
could
can
actually feel a vibration through the
yeah?
wood.
How can you tell which is which, where it ends and where it?
All right, well, let me explain to you, first of all, how you see the sky and how the whole thing works. Okay, I will.
Hey, I bet you I know how you do it. One side is where you see it in the winter on the southern end, and one is where you see it in the summer on this end. Oh.
All right, now, yeah, you guys can read that all right. That's Delphinus the dolphin. Maybe you should take your coat off. You'd be more comfortable here.
Leo minor. Oh, a minor. Except for it has to spell M-E, M-I-N-E. Oh, I remember reading all of this stuff up here last
Yeah, you should read it again because we didn't get that far. We got that other segment. Remember when we tried to watch it?
Yeah.
We got the front part of it. Very good.
Index. So let's. Constellations, brightest stars, clusters, and my baby. Constellations, location, and media. So I can read them to you.
You rolling?
And the media. This change.
Okay, you guys. Now let me explain to you how you see the sky. Now, sighted people, when they go out, they're overwhelmed by the vastness of everything, and they think there's a million stars and impossible to learn it, but you can only see about 2,500 to 3,000 stars at any one time. Yeah. Now, we're on a spherical Earth, like this golf ball here. You see, that's the Earth, right? And so we're inside a sphere that seems like the sphere surrounding it, you see, but it's actually the sphere of the Earth that's making us think that the sky is a sphere. It looks like a big bowl that's around us, right?
And it goes around it like this. Oh.
Right.
Or maybe it goes around in the middle.
Well, we're inside the star sphere, and the inside of the bowl is where all the stars are. All right, now we've taken all those stars, and we've stretched out. We haven't gotten to that part yet. No, you're not.
We're gonna have you stop a couple of times and ask you, so we can start up again.
Okay. Now we have all these points. We have various points, and we'll just get them away.
Once you go battery.
Keep it soft, it turns out better than it did last time.
Oh yeah, the table turned out because you can see. Okay, now you want me to start this lecture here again to describe that when we look out at the sky, we're actually seeing a spherical, what looks like a sphere. And so we have this ball, and you felt this ball, and you felt the inside of that. Now the stars seem like they're stuck on the inside of this ball because we're on a spherical Earth. Well, now we've taken that ball and we've stretched it out on this map so that we have the North Pole and the South Pole of the sky, and turned it so that there's 360 degrees the long way, and there's 180 degrees from the top to the bottom, but if we turned it back around, that'd be 180 to 180, 360. Now, when people go out, they think there's more stars than they can count, but you can only see about 2,500 at any one time. So, you only see half the sky at any one instant. And wherever the sun is in the sky, along what they call the ecliptic or the zodiac, to the left of it are the early evening stars. To the right of it are the early morning stars. Now the sun in December is right up here, or right down over here, and then the stars that are out tonight are right where you're feeling right now.
This is the one
Excuse me.
that are out tonight.
Right. Now these stars although they're moving very quickly in nature, the whole history of man hasn't been long enough for us to see much change in the sky that the ancients named. So we're seeing living history itself. And all these stars, the ancients named, and we have all their names up there. The Ptolemy listed 44, and the French explorers in their ships, when they went down south, they named the southern constellations because the ancient people were in the Mediterranean area and they couldn't see as far south. Now, how do you see the sky? Well, whatever your latitude is on Earth, that's straight up overhead. And these numbers on the side, you follow those numbers, those are akin to what they call latitude in the sky, declination. And we're about 40 north, so that line's straight up overhead. See a line up here? Straight up overhead is what we see straight up. But you can, but you can see all the way down to 40 degrees up from the pole, or minus 50. In other words, this is our southern horizon right here. We can't see anything below that line. If you went further south, though, you can see here's the Southern Cross there. Yeah, you feel the cross shape there?
Yeah,
Right there. Now the Northern Cross is this grouping here. Did you come and see that? Right up here?
Mimosa, that's the mimosa.
That's the Northern Cross.
This is the southern cross. Where's the northern cross?
The Northern Cross is right up here. It's also known as Cygnus. The real name is Cygnus the Swan, because here's the wings of the swan, and it's flying down the Milky Way going this way.
Neat. Oh, weird.
You feel the Milky Way there?
This is the whole Milky Way.
Right. All right, now,
I hope so. Ouch.
excuse me. These little fishing lines that we've got in here are connecting the brighter stars in the group called constellations, and they're more or less the same size throughout. The zodiac here is Aquarius, the water bearer. These are little water droplets that the water bearer is tipping over from this water jar. That's the water jar here. And then here is this little bikini or upside down Renaissance hat, Capricornus. And Sagittarius the Archer is a real interesting group. Can you see that?
This one?
Yeah, that's like a little teapot. Here's the hand. There's
Here's the spout.
right. There's the spout out here.
Oh, weird. Looks funny.
But actually, this is the bow. Antares. That means the rival of Mars because it's a super red giant star. And
Is it?
and Ptolemy,
Yeah, here
this
There's a lot of stars.
educator named Ptolemy named that
Ew, this
as the rival of Mars because it was near the ecliptic there, and Mars sometimes came in the vicinity, and they were both the same color.
How come this one has a different shape to it?
Well, I call that that's Arcturus. It means the bear keeper because it's sort of like a benchmark. A benchmark is what people on Earth use to mark certain locations. Well, I mark it in the sky because you can follow the arc of the Dipper to Arcturus, and then down to Spica and the Virgin here, and then further down to the Southern Cross. You can follow Spica and Arcturus through Gemma in the jewel of the crown, the northern crown, through to Hercules. He's the kneeling giant, and then on up to Vega, which is one of the brightest stars in the sky, and Lyra the Lyre. There's this little parallelogram of stars. And then this is part of the summer triangle. There's Vega, Deneb in the tail of the swan, and the eye of Altair, which is the quill of the eagle.
Here's a square. It's Lyria.
Yeah, that's Libra, that's square. Yeah, that's the scales.
This
Excuse me.
thing has a problem.
And then this is Virgin, Virgo. She has the wings here. Those are her wings. The train of her gown, and that's an ear of wheat that she's holding, that bright star called Spica. And then that goes on up to Leo the lion. See, there's the tail of the lion there, and the head of there's this curved backwards question mark, I call it, and that bright star in the heart called Regulus, named by Copernicus, meaning the prince. And then that goes back, following the zodiac, to Cancer here is the dimmest of the zodiacal signs. And there's a little cluster there called the beehive. It is shaped like a beehive for you to feel.
A beehive.
It's a little cluster of stars. And then
Where's the seven sisters?
the seven sisters, we'll come to it in just a little bit here. Now here's Gemini, the twins, those two lines of stars right here. There's Castor and Pollux, those two bright stars. And then on to the horns of Taurus the bull. There's this little cone shape there. That is the remnants of the nova of 1054. It was an exploding star that the Chinese and the ancient people saw, and was really a bright new star. And its remnants now are the Crab Nebula. It's kind of like a splash of stars that you can see through a time exposure photograph in a big telescope. That's called M1. This guy, Charles Messier, was a French guy who wanted to find comets, and he saw these little hazy patches in the sky, and to make sure he didn't remember those or forget those as being not comets, he wrote them by number, and he became more famous for that list of little foolers that they weren't comets. And this is his first one, his list. And this is the Hyades, this grouping here. That bright there star is Aldebaran. That's the eye of the bull. That's the face of the bull, and these are the horns of the bull. And then that right in there also is the Pleiades. These are the seven sisters. They were the half sisters of the Hyades, and daughters of Atlas. And it looks in the sky like a little teeny dipper. People think that that's the Little Dipper, but the Little Dipper is way up north. And then we go on here to Aries the Ram. This is the ram with the golden fleece that Jason and the Argonauts were running for. And that ends the zodiac here with Pisces, the two fishes tied together with these long cords. They're going that way. And above the fishes is Andromeda, this like a V shape, a long
And here's
training V
this
shape.
one has different
And that's the, as far as the naked eye can see, and that's the Andromeda Galaxy, that's M31. Messier's number 31 in his
Yeah, there it
list.
is. Well, it looks funny though.
Yeah, it's another one of those.
Camelodia.
That's Camelopardalis, that is the unicorn.
Whatever.
I beg your pardon, the giraffe, Camelopardalis. You say it's a, I think it's something.
Perseus wasn't.
Yeah, he was the hero that saved Andromeda. See, her mother, Cassiopeia, which is this W-shaped grouping above it. You feel Cassiopeia? She was the queen of Ethiopia, and she boasted of great beauty. And the gods decided to punish her by chaining her daughter Andromeda to the side of this flowing river.
This is Andromeda.
And the river was threatened by this guy right below it called Cephas the whale. This is the whale. Here's the whale here. And just as he was about to come up the river to get Andromeda, Perseus noticed it, and he had taken the head of the Medusa and cut it off. The Medusa was this this ghoul that if you looked at her, everybody turned to stone. And so he cut her head off by looking at through his reflecting shield and showed it to Cetus and saved Andromeda.
Here's a star that's all by itself.
Yes, I have some extra stars on. That's part of Cassiopeia too. Now the map I just made upstairs has all the stars that are designated without the constellation line, so you can feel that one too. If you want to have just the pristine sky without these lines, you can invent your own constellations with that.
So this is the one that you had last time?
Yeah, this is what we had last time. Now this index along the sides has the listing of all the constellations. Now let me see if you can find.
Okay, let's stop for a moment.
Okay.
This is a good point.
See if you can find a constellation that you want to learn.
Now,
see if you can.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, now. All right, now I'll explain how you find the stars on the Braille map.
Wait until we say go.
All right.
Have that noise on there. Okay. You ready? Yes. Okay, now you guys, in order to find the constellation that you want to look at with your hands, you find it alphabetically on the listing over here. You can read this listing. The index is along the sides and bottom, alphabetically by constellation. And it has the name of the constellation, the meaning of it, and the location. Now the location is listed in plus or minus the declination.
1 minus 4.
Right, and the one number is according to right ascension.
That's the bottom.
That's the bottom numbers, right. And this little guide that rolls along the map here has the latitudes or declination on them. And you can travel that along the bottom line. Obviously, now, would you tell the constellation you want now? Let's find one now.
Oh, but if you find this one.
Which one is that now?
ARA.
ARA, that's Ara the Altar, right? Have you see the altar definition there?
The altar at 17
17 minus 15. Okay, now
55.
17 minus 55. All right, now you find 17 down at the bottom here. There, yeah,
That's 12.
13, 14, 15, 17. Yeah. Okay, now we'll pull this. Oops, excuse me.
Yeah.
The guide over.
If it doesn't fall off again.
Well, I'm putting another little board underneath it, so you'll be able to find that.
Yeah, right along here.
Right on the bottom there, right. You got 17 there, okay.
17, does it go on this side or in?
That's on that side, right. You got it on the right side.
Minus 9, minus 55.
Yeah, I think you got it. You just had your hand on it. See on the other side. You had your hand, right? Yeah.
It's kind of more closer to minus 50.
Well, the constellation itself is this whole grouping right in there. And this is the altar, the Mediterranean sacrificial altar. And because it's right on their southern horizon, see, the Mediterraneans, when they see that, they can't see below that. So it's sitting right up on their horizon there. And it's right next to the telescope.
This is
and that's octans, yes. And those were named by those French explorers that used those navigational instruments. Microscopium, well, that's very near where you were. It's right over here.
It's 21, it's minus 50.
Okay, there's 21, 22, 23.
21.
Okay,
This is 20, this is 20.
21 right there.
That doesn't want to move.
Yeah, I was fixing the other one like that.
It has to be right on top of it?
No, actually it's the vertical piece of the number. Okay.
35, this is still 45.
25, 30.
35.
There it is, you've got it, microscopium. And that's the microscope, this shape right like that.
Microscopes.
And above it is Capricornus, the unicorn.
I want a telescope. How about have a telescope?
And the telescope is right there too.
Where?
Right here, right down here.
I want to see it.
There's the telescope.
This is the telescope. It looks funny.
It's just that little teeny grouping there.
Yep,
See,
it's
and those are all
stars.
modern constellations because you see these French explorers that named those went down and filled up the sky with all these other instruments and artists' instruments, like over on the other side, the painter's easel and the sculptor's furnace and so on. There's the
And the
triangle.
wolf?
Here's the, oh yeah, the wolf, Lupus the wolf is right here. Here's Lupus. And you see that train of stars there. It's a fairly
Oh,
bright constellation.
They're icky. There's
Circinus, those are twin compasses. And
compasses.
but you're right on, that bright star there is the closest star to the Earth. That's Rigel Kentaurus, meaning the knee or foot of the centaur. And the centaur was a tutor and trainer of lesser gods. He was a half horse, half man, like Sagittarius. And this whole grouping is the centaur. And it surrounds the Southern Cross, crux here. And these two bright stars, Rigel Kentaurus, the closest one, and Hadar, meaning the ground, point right over to the Southern Cross.
You can tell too. It's weird.
And right below it is Musca, the fly. That's the fly.
And it goes-
Musca. Did you feel it? Come
Put
on.
an eye and then you have musica.
The cup.
The cup. This
Now,
is
you guys have any
interesting.
questions? Ask me any questions about the sky here.
Centaurus. Here.
All these stars, of course, are moving very quickly, but the whole history of man hasn't been long enough for us to see much change in the sky that the ancients named. So we're seeing what they saw in effect, even though they're moving very quickly.
I never did these.
And you can see altogether about 6,000 stars on the best conditions at night.
Where's 12?
12, right in the middle of the map is number 12. It goes from 1 to 24, and these are hours of the sky. Every 15 degrees is 1 hour of the sky. And of course, we rotate once around in our axis every day. So wherever the sun is, it's right up, right down over in the middle there. Right half, early morning stars. Left half, early evening stars. And what are you reading there? You got it?
Says 41 plus 10.
What is this?
Oh, this little pyramid shape, that is a non-stellar object. It's not a star. It's a kind of a gaseous. It's a gas. It's a nebula. It's called Eta Carinae, after the Greek letter Eta, and it looks like a comet in the sky. And I put that there because it's not a stellar object as such. It's a kind of a gaseous, hazy spot in the sky.
Can you see that at night?
Yes, when you're down south, you can't see that from here. But as I say, if you go way down, I was in Australia a couple times, and that was really beautiful there. And they have colored photographs of it, but it's a real hazy spot.
Antares or whatever. This is rival looking like.
Yeah, and that's on the other end.
And it's here, with the brightest star.
Antares, yeah, that's one of the brightest stars. That whole listing there, the 20 brightest stars, are right there.
What is this line?
Oh, this is the Virgin. This is Virgo. This is the train of her gown, and then these are the wings of the Virgin, and this is their ear of wheat that she's holding on to.
I meant this little.
Oh, well, that line there, that's the equator
Oh,
of the
no,
sky.
are
That
you
runs along the whole,
Oh, no.
and each one of these marks on there is 1 degree of sky.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
The ship's
Nice.
And here's a field of galaxies. Let's see that, all those little spots right there.
Very neat.
This is Coma Berenices. She was a lady that promised Venus, if her husband returned safely from war, that she'd cut her hair for the altar. And he returned, and she cut her hair, and she put it on the altar, and it disappeared into the sky, and that's where it is. And that's a whole field of galaxies. Each one of those little spots in there, if you took time exposure photographs through a telescope, you'd see spirals in various shapes, and it's a whole area. Yeah, that whole area is of galaxies.
Oh yeah, I remember this little.
Right, that's right in the middle of our map. There's a gigantic ship that Jason and the Argonauts, Lacaille, this French astronomer, our explorer, named this whole area. This is the ship. Canopus is the pilot of the ship, and Corinna the keel. This is the keel part. These are the sails of the ship, vela, and this is the deck of the ship. This little couple of triangles there, and then that goes up to this mast there. And this little group called Pyxis, the compass box, also used to be known as Molus. That was part of the mast of the ship.
I found Spica.
Spica, right? That's the ear of wheat, and that's listed on the index over there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's stop for a moment.
Okay.
Okay.
21.